How's it going, everyone? I'm SirJames coming at you guys with another lightsaber review. This time I have something really cool and special to share with you guys today, and that is a limited edition lightsaber set that you can get your hands on starting today. And what I have here is that this is the Maul Watto Junkyard design lightsaber that you can acquire on NSabers. In fact, this was done as a collaboration between NSabers, TXQ, and HUYANG design to give us this really cool unique set, which we've done something like that in the past before, but this time it's going to be featuring Darth Maul, and this is a really nice set altogether. Now, I know some of you might be curious as to why I have these as individual hilts right now instead of, how it's supposed to be connected. Well, obviously you have your options to do so, but I figured for video's sake it'd make it a lot easier to start with them disconnected, so that way I could show you the process of connecting them and all that fun stuff as the video goes along. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and bring one of these over because, again, they're both the same, to show you guys the closer look at the details, and then we'll pretty much go from there. There's a handful of things to share, what comes in the box and the box itself and all that fun stuff. That way you know exactly what you're going to be getting. And do note, because these are a limited edition set, these are also numbered. Not the hilts themselves, but the little plaque that it comes with, which you'll see. So let's go ahead and start by giving you a closer look at the, individual hilt by itself. And there you go. As you can see, you got your nice colored patterns like before with the red button and silver. And this is a 2-button setup. So yeah, this is your main and this is your secondary. And these are for show, but will come into play a little bit later on. Here is the upper section, which will be using a 7/8 blade. And if you are curious, yes, there is a couple options you have for the top, which I'll show in just a moment. These little black things here, these are little rubber pieces that actually are little rubber O-rings, I believe they're called. That is pre-included with the package. You have to add them yourself. It's pretty simple to do. This bottom section actually does come off, so you can go ahead and connect your hilts together. And the other nice detail here is little kyber crystal there on the bottom, which is pretty neat and actually does glow. In fact, let me go ahead and show you the lighting right now, because also, as you would know, these sections here also glow. This one here and this one. As you can see, and they are pretty bright, like extremely bright. And that one's also quite bright.
I can see him in my mind's eye.
Now, as you can also hear, audio is nice, crisp, and loud too. So, in terms of the top section, you do have a couple options to work with. First things first is, if you're not going to be having them on display, meaning that you're going to be using your blade, but you want to make sure that your blade connectors and stuff like that is nice and safe from like anything possibly going in there, then you do get a set of these, which is going to be your lightsaber blade plug, which has Darth Maul on it. And as mentioned, you get a set of 2 because, again, you have 2 hilts to go ahead and use it with. And you basically put it in there, and then you go ahead and secure the retention screw, which I'll show that as well. So again, there you go. That's what that looks like. If you don't want to use those, and maybe you're going to have them on display, you can go ahead and remove this top section right here. Now, when you remove this top piece, this allows you to go ahead and connect a new top section. But by doing so, we also have access to, there's 2 retention screws when you remove that. There's one here and one directly on the opposite end. However, if you don't wish to do that, there's actually another retention screw, which this one's a lot different. It's right in here, which again, you don't have to remove the top to access that. The reason why I say that one's different is because, well, if I could pick it up, that is, without losing it. Look how tiny that is. This is the tiniest little hex tool that I've seen ever used in a lightsaber. But that is what you would use with that. So you don't have to remove the top to tighten the screws. You could use this if you just want to kind of nudge it in a little bit. So try not to lose that. But as mentioned, inside the box you will... Oop, didn't mean to do that. But inside the box you will get 2 of these, which is an alternate top portion. Which, when you attach this, as you would expect, you won't be able to use your blade. And it seals the top completely. Again, display or one to use with the blade. We're going to go ahead and put this top back on because obviously we're going to want to use a blade here in just a moment. So, as I mentioned, 3 retention screws altogether, and that's pretty much about it. Before we go on any further with that, let me go ahead and show you what else is in the box. Here's what the outer package is going to look like. Maul there. Darth Maul. NSabers logo. HUYANG's workshop. And then nothing on the back. And then everything slides out. Nice paddings. On the top is where you're going to find your 2 hilts with, of course, the blade plug. And then this one here, which is the connector to combine the 2, which again, I'll demonstrate here in a few minutes on how to do that. And the bottom portion of the packaging has everything else, such as your manual. You have... At least mine came with these white gloves, but there's actually going to be a different pair of colored gloves that yours would come with, which I believe is black and red to kind of go with the Darth Maul theme. A basic stand, which you guys have seen these before. The little rubber O-rings, as mentioned. Plenty of spare parts, which is awesome because one of the things that I usually dislike with lightsabers is that you don't get a lot of spare parts for them, and this one does. Just a handful of things. Another one of these top portions for the other hilts, and you're also going to get a plaque which is going to be numbered, along with charging cable, retention screws, all the tools that you need in order to use it, operate it, open it up, all that fun stuff. But as far as the saber goes, it is limited to 300. And I was quite surprised with what I got, which, shockingly enough, I ended up getting number 1 out of 300, which is really, really cool. It's always funny because anytime I get like a limited edition product, whether it's a lightsaber or something else, you know, there's always 3 numbers that I always try to, I hope to get. You know, it's like either number 1, 66, because order 66, and or the last one. The 66 only counts if it's a Star Wars related product, of course. And the fact that Darth Maul is my, you know, one of my favorite lightsaber designs, or Darth Maul's lightsaber, I should say, is one of my favorites, and I'm a huge fan of double-bladed lightsabers in general, but the fact that I got number 1 is just really, really cool to see, and just means a lot. Alright, now let me go ahead and show you guys how to access the internals. The internals in this are also just as cool as the hilt themselves, because, again, you gotta be special. Now, in order to access the internals, there are 2 things you need to remove. I was holding out 1 finger, but 2 things. First, you need to unscrew this upper emitter. Oop, just be careful not to unscrew the other portion. So yes, unscrew that. One thing to note here is that the little rubber O-ring that you've installed might move up a bit. Just note that when you're reinstalling the upper section, just to move this down and then screw the top, and then it'll hold in place. The next thing that you need to remove, which thankfully it's only two steps right here, is on the upper section, again, where the blade area would go, you need to remove this one screw. And then when you do that, you could access, let's try not to lose those parts. You can go ahead and carefully slide out without touching those pins, removing the chassis entirely. And here it is. Now this chassis is not plastic. This is actually made of brass. And you could actually feel the heftiness and weight to it. There's those two buttons that are going to align with those buttons. It's only going to fit one way. You do have a USB-C charging port right there. And here's the top. Now this is only Profi installed, so there's your Profi board. And there is your battery, which has got a nice battery decal to match with everything, which is pretty neat. And there's your pins and the speaker port. Just so you can see how this looks with it not plugged in right now. Let's go ahead and activate. So here's how that looks with the light function.
I can see him in my mind's eye.
And then for reassembly, you're just going to go ahead and again do the exact opposite of what you were doing. But the one thing you want to do to help somewhat guide this a little easier is, again, look where the buttons are. Right here, and where they're going to line up. And you're just going to go ahead and try to get it to where hopefully you could just put the screw in. If you don't get it the first time, you could go ahead and use the hex tool to help guide the chassis a little bit until you can go ahead and tighten everything together. And then you are pretty much good to go. But that's how you access the internals. Just tighten that up. And then again, for this top section, if your rubber O-ring has moved, just simply use your fingers to go ahead and lower that. Put the top on. And just like that, you are good to go. Now, before we proceed any further, I want to go ahead and just quickly just do a little swing. You know, obviously you guys want to see this light up. So let me go ahead and bring a blade over. Now do keep in mind that this will not include lightsaber blades and will indeed need 2 7/8 blades depending on the length of your choice. So I'm actually going to try this. It's actually the first time I'm using this little tiny one right here. I'm just kind of curious to see how it would hold. Obviously if I was doing combat, not really, but then again, I'm really not going to do combat with this Hilt anyways, because again, it's a limited edition. Turn this off, and then activate. Boom, so there it is. So you have your option between an individual Hilt or together. Audio's nice, clear and loud. You know, I'm so used to using Maul's saber together. It just feels weird. Now, even with the copper chassis, it's not really that heavy by itself because the framework is extremely light, and then the internal is has a little bit of heft, but it's not to the point where you can feel it. You're not going to have like any kind of fatigue using it for long periods of time. Anakin. Now, the other thing you might be curious is when the saber changes color, is the lighting elements below that going to change at all? And the answer is no. As you can see, these sections here are red and will remain red. Same thing with the crystal on the bottom. If there's anything, I wish this would have changed with the blade itself. But again, it's not that big of a deal. And, you know, if you're going to have the hilts together, then for the most part, you're not really going to see that at all. You're only going to see it when you're using it like this.
General Kenobi.
Tell me, is this training?
My
You
training?
don't know what you're
No.
facing. You
Always
won't
training.
notify
Do you
you.
never see?
Now, I will say that that little tiny retention screw, that little skinny one that I mentioned, you know, it's doing a good job, really. Again, if I'm not doing anything I think super crazy or like crazy trolls and spins, I mean, just casually doing this, it's holding just fine. Of course, again, you don't want to be too crazy with the little hex tool because I feel like that could also snap on its own. So yeah, not too shabby. Oop. Let's see.
You've killed enough.
I was trying to remember how to do clash. There you go. I was pushing the wrong button. I was holding the blaster button, which is the second one, but it's the top one. Just like that. So I want to go ahead and I want to put this back on Maul, and then we're going to go ahead and connect the two together. But as far as saber fonts, this would come with the basic fonts that you would get with a TXQ related product.
Dark Sith. You're going to electro. You see, typical teensy. Smooth, smooth, smooth.
Luke Skywalker.
I am told it is Luke Kenobi.
Back to Kenobi.
Kenobi.
Alright. Now let me go ahead and show you guys how to assemble them to form the double-bladed, you know, original look that you would expect to see with this lightsaber. Now, as far as like going out and swinging like crazy, because this is a limited edition hilt, I don't want to mess it up, so I will still connect them and put blades in, and that way you can kind of hear. But as far as outside swinging, not so much, just because, again, I really love these ones and I don't want to mess anything up. So, when you want to connect these together, this is what you're going to be doing. You are going to be removing, I think you only need to remove one screw if I recall, but if you're curious about this piece here, if you ever find it loose, it's this little silver piece here. Just, you could unscrew that, and as you can see, you could remove it entirely. And then there's the chassis, and you just slide that back in, twist this little silver piece right here, and now it's going to stay. But you are going to be removing this screw. You can always use a reference. As you can see, this is our reference here. So in fact, you're actually removing two things. You're going to be removing the red button and the one little screw. So we're going to go ahead and start. I say button, but it's not really a button. It's just the little red piece that you screw in. You're just going to remove that. And then you're going to remove the one screw. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you know those little rubber O-rings? Well, there's going to be another one right here. Alright, get this piece out of the way. And then this, how this works is, you know, some of the Darth Maul sabers had it to where you would have to like screw them and try to get them to line up, and it's always been annoying, but not this one. Pretty straightforward. You're just going to slide that off like so. Now the cool part, if you look here, you see how everything's shaped? If you look on the inside of this, it's only going to go a specific way. So if you bring in the connector here, Again, just look to see how everything is, where the buttons are. Slide the piece together. Again, you may need to adjust the O-ring. Sometimes the O-ring can get in the way. And again, this is only if you're using them. I like to move the ring up. So as you can see here, it was down here, but I moved it up here because it makes it a lot easier to basically secure everything entirely and not have to fight it. Because if you're fighting with the product, then that means you're doing something wrong or something is in the way. Then you're going to go ahead and take those parts that you removed, place them back on, just like that. And now that O-ring, as I mentioned, you're just going to go ahead and slide it. Boom. Now you're good. As you can see, we are halfway there. So let's go ahead and do the other side now. Again, all you need to do is remove the red button or screw. There's two pieces to that, so keep in mind. There's a little silver piece just underneath. Go ahead and remove this. Just like that. I know I should have had a little table here, but unfortunately it's in use. Remove the O-ring just above. Now, mine, or something to kind of keep in mind, that's once I remove this, be a little bit careful, because if you see this little clear piece, see what, as you can see, you know how that kind of disappears there. So as you remove this, I highly recommend you have it like facing down and then pull away, just because you never know if that might be a little loose or not. On mine it is, so it could get lost quite easily, just like I just dropped it. So just be cautious of that one piece there. Yours might not do that, or it may eventually, but just, again, face it down and be a little cautious when removing it. Put it somewhere safe. And then we're going to go ahead and bring these parts together. And I know some of you are like, you could have just edited this out and then showed us the end results, but I'd rather do things real time so that way you can see it as well and follow along. So if you do end up getting this and you wish to connect them, that way you don't get lost in the process. Again, put those two pieces that you removed back on, just like that. And then remove the O-ring back down, and you are good to go. Now, when these are fully assembled, you could now tell the weight difference, especially with those two, what did I say, brass or copper, the brass chassis in there. Now this has got some weight. Individually, pretty lightweight. Together, like, feels nice. Let's go ahead and activate these at the same time. Alright.
I can see him in my mind's eye.
One of them was not on the correct font.
Tell me.
There's team seats. I am told
Cal has to.
Kenobi.
There we go.
Kenobi!
There we go. Activating both at the same time in 1, or 3, 2, 1. Now, of course, you do have sound validation right there in the dead center. Now, the other thing I also like, you may notice there's some holes here. The same thing here. And what I like about those holes there is that even with my hand being right here in the center, I'm still getting audio coming out of the hilt one way or another. I mean, sure, with my hand here, it muffles it just a little bit, but it's not to the point where it's like very muffled, you know?
I can see him in my mind's eye.
Now, let me go ahead and connect the two little 7/8 blades here, just to have that more proper look. Now, of course, the 7/8 blades that I have here, I'm pretty sure aren't the actual length in which Maul was using. I'm pretty sure his was probably like, I think 36 inch, if I'm not mistaken. Fortunately for me, when it comes to a double-bladed lightsaber, 36-inch blade is just not really usable for me. I mean, I could, I wouldn't perform as well. I feel like there's quite a few, that's what she said, or he said, moments. So we're going to go ahead and turn this main light off here. So here's how it looks. Try not to break my ceiling tile here.
I can see him.
Anakin,
General Kenobi.
tell me, is this training?
My training? No. Always. Dark Sith Red. When only a few of us have left. Yoko to banta pudu.
Now you guys know this one was my favorite. No! I missed out.
Just go, Pito.
There we go. It's supposed to be an epic moment, and I failed you. Alright, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Now this is pod racing. Man, it's actually, that's cool having two of them together. Sounds like you're actually connected to a pod racer and all that. Yeah, that was pretty neat. Let's see, let's activate this one. You didn't disconnect. Oh, I was pushing the wrong button. That's why. And... okay. So the mistake I was making, I was holding down the button thinking it was going to retract. I just have to press it. Holding down the top button, if there's any phrases or dialogue, we'll actually go through that. So just kind of keep that in mind. But let me go ahead and turn this back on. But yeah, like I said, as far as a Darth Maul lightsaber goes, this one is really neat. I don't know how many Darth Maul sabers I've reviewed on this channel, but this one I could easily say is my #1 favorite right here. Because like different ones, like, you know, I've seen the Disney ones and a few of the custom ones, and like, you know, usually there's always a mixed bag. You know, sometimes the connection could be an issue. For example, there is one, I think I have it in the other room, where it's the Darth Maul and the one that was going to be Ventress, but was later scrapped to be used as Darth Maul's new double-bladed saber. Like, you know, I like that one, but the problem with that is that it's a screw-on connection, so you have to try to get the pieces to line up, which is extremely annoying. The fact that the alignment isn't an issue is great. The lighting elements on here is also neat. I will say, if I had to nitpick anything, is the fact that the lighting elements on here, whether it's through the bottom with the crystal or the sides here, is that I feel like the LED is just like too much in the forefront, because if you were to look at these directly, it's quite blinding. it's that bright. So again, I don't know if that's a good thing. Actually, you know what? It'll be a lot easier to show you what I mean. So let's see.
Electric essence.
It doesn't matter which saber font, but I'm just going to do a different one. All right. So as you can see, the light from here is pretty bright. I mean, it doesn't look bad, but like, I don't know how to properly show you guys, but it's very bright in person. Like, looking at it, I'd probably blind myself. Oh. Yeah, it gets weird when you have on two different fonts. But overall, this is a really cool lightsaber. As I mentioned, these are still available on NSabers websites. And of course, I do want to give a big thanks to NSabers who made this video possible. And also thanks to you guys who made this video possible. I mean, the fact that I somehow got #1 of this is just mind-blowingly epic, per se. But what do you guys think about these? Let me know in the comment section down below. And just out of curiosity, did you guys get anything cool during the Black Friday sale? Any cool like limited editions, or maybe Hilt you were looking at for a while that you finally bit the bullet on? Let me know in the comment section down below. Until then, I'll see you guys on the next video, and always remember, may the Force be with you.